Hi, my name is Nadia Sharif. I'm from El Monte, California, born and
Yeah.
raised in LA County. Yeah,
Cool. Cool. All right. Cool. So when did you start pole?
I started pole in 2007.
All right. Okay. So what made you take that very first class?
I don't think I took a class until I
Ooh.
took a workshop from Felix Kane. That was my
Oh,
official first class. I started pole dancing in my bedroom. I installed an IKEA closet rod.
wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You started.
Yes, and it was absolutely not the right like fabric. It was like some smooth, what are those things called that like pop
Yeah.
out of each other? So it was
Yeah.
a closet rod, and I just went into my attic and I like secured it, and I would try to pole dance on that, which is absolutely impossible. But I think that got me really, really strong because it was so impossible.
That's hilarious.
I didn't know there was poles. Like I didn't know there was like X pole or
Yeah.
these other poles that you could really buy. So I just makeshift one and I just watched YouTube. So I would watch like Carol Helms,
Yeah.
Felix Kane, right? And just monkey see, monkey do, try my best.
I don't think I've heard a lot, but I've never an IKEA. That's funny. Okay, so you're in your home pole dancing with an IKEA pole, which is not a thing. And then and then you go to a Felix Kane workshop. So what made you to say, okay, I want to like take a real class with someone?
So when I started in '07, I was just doing it in my room, my bedroom.
Mhm.
And then in 2008, I did a competition. It was, I think, the very first competition that was outside of a strip club
Okay.
in 2008. And then I started working and training. First, I trained for 3 months with the studio to be able to teach there. And
Okay.
then, so I started teaching, and I had still never taken like a class for myself. And
Wow.
yeah, so then Felix came. I think it was California Pole Dance Championship, maybe '08 or '09 or something like that.
Okay. Hmm.
And so she was in town and she was doing workshops. It was $100. And I was
Oh
like,
wow.
I don't
That was pretty,
care.
pretty
I'm
pricey back
going.
then. Okay.
Okay. And she was booked out. I mean, I think she did like 8 workshops in 2 days. Like she was booked out.
Damn.
And I was like, I want to learn the spatchcock. I want to learn eagle.
Mhm.
I want to learn, and I couldn't do any of it.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
yeah, that was my first like official class for me as a student.
Okay. So I want to go back. So when you were dancing at home and learn, like, where were you learning movements? Were you just like on YouTube? Like, how were you?
So, okay, do you remember those drinks? They're illegal now. They were called Sparks.
Mm-mm.
It's like an energy drink plus alcohol. So I would drink those. I would drink those. I would sweep my tile room and I would just try my very best. And I couldn't really do anything, to be honest. Like I tried to do Superman. I couldn't do Superman. I tried to just climb and sit. I couldn't. Nothing was gripping. So yeah,
That's
I would
hilarious.
just like try, like I would watch people and then I'd be like, okay, I'm going to try this move. But honestly, the
Yeah.
only thing I could really get was like I did a lot of spins, I did a lot of
Hmm.
pirouettes, and just
Yeah.
struggling to do anything aerial was just helping my stamina and my strength because the technique was trash.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And so you did that. You took the workshop, and then you started teaching in a studio.
Hmm. Yes.
Okay. Wow. Like just from like 0 to 100, like real quick.
Yes, I was obsessed. I didn't go anywhere besides like places to find inspiration. So I will go to
Hmm.
the strip clubs in my area. I will go to Jumbo's, and
Hmm.
just see the girls and be like, wow, like look at her. Like she's got this cool trick and that cool trick,
Yeah.
So that was my life. Like I didn't do anything else besides pole dancing for like hours, hours and hours.
Wow. Wow. So I consider you a legend. What would you say you're best known for?
Maybe like energy, like fire.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, something like that. Yeah, because I feel like I don't really know. I don't really know what it is that people see when they see me, but I think it's a high energy kind of what I realize now is I think a lot of my pole dancing was fueled by rage that I couldn't articulate. I didn't quite have the
Mm.
understanding of what that rage was. So I feel like it was my way of expressing that sort of like suppressed rage. And I think that's what
Mm.
fueled so much like energy and fire and passion in my movement.
Yeah, because I know when I saw you perform or do anything, it just was so like impactful. And you're so tiny. And I'm just like it's like you're just like literally from one end of the stage just like taking over, and I'm just like just in awe of it.
Thank you.
Um
Thank you.
of course. And so I think your background as well, were you an engineer or there was something, so talk to me a little bit about that as well.
So, okay, so I went to community college and I was dancing in community college and I really loved
Mm,
that. And then I transferred to university and they didn't have any movement whatsoever. And that's when I really
mm,
started pole dancing because I was like, I need the money.
yeah.
I need to do something. So I started pole dancing during college and that's when I was doing all my competitions.
Mm,
And the year that I graduated, I had the year of my career. You know, I had finally won CPDC California. I'd finally
what
won
year
a
was that?
national. That was
What year was
okay.
that?
So in 2010, I got second place. In 2011, I got second place. And in
Okay.
2012, I finally got first place. So it was
Okay.
2012. And that year, I had basically like just had a really good year. I did international doubles, um, a national single and a state single, and like those videos went viral, they went big,
Yeah.
like it was big time. And I thought, perfect, what a great way to end my, pole dancing career at that point. And it hadn't even started yet. I
Eh,
was like, this is perfect, I'm gonna just wash my hands, had my good year, let me go work, get this money.
yeah.
And tried to do like people on YouTube would comment under my videos that weren't even on my channel. They were just other people posting it. And they'd be like,
Mm,
come to Brazil, come to Colombia, come to the UK.
wow.
And I was like, I'll go. I'm down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so that's essentially, I tried to do both and I glitched out.
Yeah.
And I had like a total mental breakdown in my engineering job where
Mm,
I just like started like crying and screaming and I threw like a medium-sized stapler at my boss and it was like a big thing, like I just couldn't hack
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And like I started noticing that I was getting like a twitch. Like I would find myself going like, yeah, 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 yeah.
Mm,
Because I just wanted people to stop talking to me, stop approaching me.
yeah.
Looking back, I think it was, yeah, too much of a male dominated field,
Yeah.
microaggressions that I didn't really get.
Yeah.
And so I just glitched out and I left and I never came back. And I started just touring from there. So from
Wow.
2012, I haven't had like how you call it, a real job.
Yeah. That's so interesting because Sasha and I talked to Jamila earlier today. You all kind of like said the same thing. Like you were doing something and then this thing happened and then you like never looked back. And I just think that's just so cool. So what keeps your love for pole alive all these years?
You know, my love for pole has fluctuated a lot.
Yeah.
And I think right now that I'm almost gonna be 40, I'm 39 years old. My body,
Yes.
you know,
Welcome to the
needs
club.
my body needs different things than it did back
Yeah.
then. And I've been noticing now that since I've been on my healing journey, no piece of me wants to go that super hard anymore.
Yeah. Hmm.
I care about my body a bit more than I did back
Yes.
then. So I think now it's more about like maintaining a condition of the body,
Yes.
maintaining the body's ability to do things, keeping it sustainable, which is not something I thought about in my 20s, to keep the practice alive. So right now it's more just about maintaining a health like level for myself. I
Yeah.
went to the doctor and they were like, "You're almost pre-diabetic and you have high cholesterol." And I was just like, it was the first time I really felt American. I was like, okay. So,
Yeah.
now I really think about my health and I think about,
Yeah.
a sustainable practice. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what keeps me moving. Yeah.
Yes. So, as a pole dancer of color, how has your identity influenced your movement style and like your just overall journey in pole? Because you've been in pole like pre-COVID, well pre Instagram, all the things. So,
Right.
like, how has that influenced you? or
Gosh, that's
impacted
such
you
a
as well?
yeah, that's such a loaded question because there's so many layers to that. I think that I like you're saying as a person of color, how has that influenced my movement?
Yeah, so like I feel like in the when I first thought about pole dancing, I thought of a white woman. That's it. You know, a white skinny woman. And you know, you're so bold, like you're I feel like your ethnicity and your background really comes out in your movements and just how you just like carry yourself. And I imagine there might have been spaces where people are like, "Oh, that's weird. That's different." Like how did you and I can imagine you probably, you know, nicely got them together or maybe not so nicely.
I understand. I understand. Okay. Okay, so going back to the rage part, the rage that I didn't
Right.
understand. Yeah, I think that is fueled by, I didn't realize this back then, but I realized being Mexican kind of shapes your worldview and like your values and what you are like your identity and the definition of, you know, your integrity. And so I
Yeah.
found myself, I grew up in a very, very Mexican city, so I didn't really see this sounds so, I can't believe I'm going to say this out loud. I didn't see color, but that's literally
Right.
because we were all the same color.
Yeah, I
You
get
know,
that.
so you
Yeah.
don't really think about it when everybody is Mexican. Like there's no
Yeah.
racial anything. And so when I entered the
Hmm.
pole space, I found spaces that were very black and very white. And I
Mm.
never really like had an opportunity to be in a fully white space or a fully black
Mm.
space. And so even that was really opening when eye opening when I started pole dancing, like teaching. I was teaching at a black owned studio, and it
Okay.
felt very at home. It felt very
Hmm.
culturally connected. It felt very generous and it felt very open. And so I think I was quite spoiled from that
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
experience. And it didn't really prepare me for other types of spaces. And I think
Mm.
as I entered a lot of spaces where it is predominantly white, like you go touring in Europe, you're going to see white,
Yeah.
white, white, white. And so I think that started to sort of trigger something inside of me that reminded me like I have a different culture. I have a
Hmm.
different perspective. And I
Yeah.
think as like when I think when Trump came into office the first time, I think that was like a moment where it was quite like clear as to where the
Mm.
boundary really was, right? Like, and I remember like having so much rage during that time and so much frustration that people weren't frustrated. People weren't
Yeah.
enraged. And so I
Hmm.
think that also kind of comes into play as like a cultural thing, as a you know, person of color and person with different kind of values and morals, you know,
Yeah.
embedded in it, that it sort of like was really eye-opening to where pole dancing is not this super loving community where everybody is, you know, on the same page, not at
Yeah.
all. So I
Right.
do think that it did fuel that rage even more. But I, at that time, before the 2020, I didn't have the vocabulary or the words or the understanding of what was really happening, you know, racially in this country.
Yeah.
So I do think that especially being mixed identity as well, like my dad's
Mm.
Pakistani and my mom's Mexican. So there's so much to put into play about,
Yeah.
you know, what's happening in the world and you know, Islamophobia and now we see today, you know, all the ICE raids and God,
Yeah.
like it's crazy.
Right.
And you know, just seeing the lack of reality for a lot of people, you know, positions of privilege, in positions of power and class. So I think it really did fuel my creativity in terms of like standing bold in my stance, which I thought
Yeah.
everybody would just feel the same as me, which
No, they don't. They don't. They're just like, we're just pole dancing. I'm like, it is bigger than this.
I hate that
Like,
phrase. Can I just say, I hate when I hear it's just pole dancing because it highlights, I think, an ignorance, like an ignoring
yes.
of so much. Yeah.
I mean, there's so much privilege in the fact that we can pole dance. The
Right.
fact that one, it's expensive as hell. So
Yeah.
you're already in a privileged category, regardless of your race, gender identity.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you're naked, you're half
Yeah.
naked, you know, you're putting yourself out there, like how you are not aligning with the minority or the marginalized communities, like, you actually are a marginalized community, but because you're presenting one way, you're like, oh, it's just political. No,
Right, right, right. The
like it's
disconnect.
so much
Yeah,
more. Yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
Yes. So I want to talk about, I remember your viral post about using the word exotic and pole dancing. And like I heard about it before, but then when you put that post out, I was just like, bing. And then some of my instructors sent it to me and I was like, you're right. So I like immediately changed like everything. So talk to me about like what caused you to be like, I want to talk about this and I'm going to do the history, or I'm going to say what I already know. And so that people can be like, this is, I want you to know this.
It was a compilation of a lot of things. It was
Mhm.
sort of an understanding of my life when I compared, like, let's say, for example, one of my girlfriends in high school, her mother had passed away when she was in high school, and she had to basically take care of a home that wasn't paid off, but was left to her.
Mhm.
And she was 18. She was 18, okay? And I remember she started stripping, and she would strip, in our neighborhood, in City of Industry, in
Yeah.
El Monte. It's poor, it's Mexican, it's kind of scary to go into some of those places and work. And
Yeah.
there's more, how do you call it, like illegal activities, okay? Just remember thinking like, there is a class intersection of the girls that move here from, they're from Ohio or whatever, from Florida, and they come to Hollywood and they come work at the nice clubs in Hollywood, that are
Mhm.
safer and blaza blaza. And then there's the people that are actually from here that don't get to work in Hollywood because they're not blonde, they're not
Yeah.
skinny, so now they got to work over here, and there's such a huge disparity of
Yeah.
safety, of money. And in itself was already starting to like, I was starting to like turn a gear, like, wait a second, it's more
Yeah.
about respecting the history. Like it's
Yeah.
that's one thing, but it's also respecting the struggle, respecting the
Yes.
people, respecting that not a lot of people wake up and say, like, I want to be a stripper. Like,
Right.
not everybody got that
Right.
concept. Some people have
Yeah.
to. And so I think that was one layer. Another layer
Mhm.
was about like something really personal that had happened within my family structure. All those layers of like adultification of exotic looking people, dare I
Yeah.
say, where it just really disgusted me. It really like
Yes.
bugged me to my belly, my core. And so I just honestly, I was pissed. I was just pissed, and I had had enough. I
Yeah.
had really had enough. So I just said, I don't care if the people are mad. Be mad at me if you want to, but this is a bigger issue. And I think
Yeah.
now it's even easier to see, like, if you lack documentation, which is a big part of being exotic, not of the
Yeah.
land, you're going
Yes.
to be treated like a criminal. And I don't
Yeah.
think I need to expand. Just
Yeah.
we are
Yeah.
where we are. And so I think that's the part that gets erased. It is the erasure of that very exotic struggle. Go
Yeah.
to an exotic city and do exotic things. That's all criminal activity, all of it.
Yeah.
So I think it's also that part, and there's so much ambiguity, and even like fetishizing mixed race people is not a
Mm.
compliment. It's really
No.
gross, like there's no part of me that wants to be like sexually enticing to people just based on how I wake up in the morning. Like it's like a sickness that I think also is related to class. So when you see somebody who's like, for me, example, like Mexican and Pakistani, those countries are not known for being glamorous and rich. Okay, so you
Yeah.
already see what's going through somebody's mind when they're like,
Yeah.
ooh, what's so exciting about that? Do you think I'm on discount now? Do you think you
Right.
can afford? Like there's a sickness within that. And so I think all of that gets kind of perpetuated, and
Yeah.
we never even stop to question it.
Right. So when you put that out, did you get a lot of pushback from the community?
I got some really mixed reviews. A lot of the people
Mhm.
that commented were in favor and being, like, thank you and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Most of it was like that. But I knew, here's what I know is that at
Yeah.
your studio, you're going to talk about this. And
Yeah.
those conversations was exactly why I put the video out. I don't
Mm,
have all the answers. I don't know what you're going to call your dancing, but those conversations I think really highlighted, the people that could see and the people that can't or won't.
yeah, yeah.
And so
No,
like I remember right after I put out that video, there was like some big time people that literally posted it's just pole dancing, and I remember the feeling that I got where I was just like, how dare you call yourself a leader in the industry? How dare you call
yeah,
yourself a dance teacher? Like this is so big. How could you try to minimize it for, again, whose comfort?
right.
So, and I remember like seeing people post like that and then them taking it down. So that means somebody
Mm,
reached out to them and said, "Hey, this isn't a good look."
right, right.
And so I think it was like very interesting to see the difference in what was said and what I know wasn't said. Like
Yes,
I know a lot of people didn't comment what they really thought. They
of
were
course.
upset. They were pissed. They were offended, and then to say like, oh, it's just stripping, like anybody can strip. And it goes back to that sort of class intersection of, is it a choice or is it coercion from poverty? There's a big
Mm.
sort of difference in mindset as to why you have to do something like that or why you would want to do something like that. And I think that
So
was a
that
part of, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's really like a really good point of like, because I do feel like there's a lot of people now who are like, I want to be a stripper. Like they're not coming from the space of, that I need to do this to survive. I want to do this because I want to be naked. I want people to see me. I want people to throw money at me. So, what is your thoughts on that of like people who are like, I genuinely want to be a stripper, and I come from middle class America, and now I'm going to go shake my ass on a stage.
Think that it's, if you have a good financial plan, it's a good financial plan. If you're
Hmm.
looking at it as, hey, I'm gonna strip, I'm gonna make a shit ton of money, I'm gonna pay my taxes, I'm gonna get a big loan, I'm gonna buy a bunch of condos, go be my guest, that's
Hmm.
great. Go work in Hollywood. You're gonna, if you have the, how do you call it, like conventionally attractive features, you're gonna be hired, you're
Yeah,
gonna be just fine, and there's really nothing wrong with doing that, especially
yeah,
if you have a game plan. If your only
yes,
game plan is I want men to see me and admire me, I think that's a little immaturity and a little
yeah,
sadness with that.
yeah,
And it's, again, it's different if you say, I know I'm hot, I got big old titties and men love me,
yeah,
so may as well make money off of it.
yeah,
Go ahead, be my guest. But let's also remember that that person shouldn't be the spokesperson. We don't go to
right.
the top to hear their point of view. I want to hear the
Hmm.
point of view from the ones struggling, from the ones lacking documentation, from the ones being pushed into the scary spaces, illegal
Yeah,
spaces. So I think they're two different worlds. I think the
yeah,
line of sex work is legal versus illegal.
hmm,
And if you do legal sex work, be my guest. Again, enjoy yourself.
yeah,
People are so poor in America that, like, if you want to do OnlyFans and bang yourself with a cucumber for money,
right,
get your money. Get your
right.
money. Do
Yes,
but I
yes,
think it really does highlight that poverty is reaching an ultimate high in the country. Rich countries don't
yes,
have a bunch of people selling ass. They just don't.
that
So
part.
we're that poor also in as a country
Yes,
to where more people are getting into it for the money. But I do know some people, like my own students, even I have to explain to them that, choose your location wisely in terms
yeah,
of like, oh, I want to strip because I want to be good pole dancing,
hmm,
or be good at stripping. So it's like for a reason outside of money. And I say, do it if that's what you want to do, but don't be mad when you go to work and there's people doing this for real. And there's people
right.
looking at you funny that you're taking up space in a place where you don't know the reason why everybody else has ended up here.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think again, location has a lot to do with it. Like, go to Hollywood. Everybody that works in Hollywood is not from here. So go ahead,
right.
and it's just different. And so like, just recognize that there is a privilege to working in different cities, different
Yeah,
spaces, different zip codes, area
yeah,
codes, and stuff like that. And just recognize that you're doing it for a different reason than most people, and that you might be taking up space in a place where people really need the money. So if you're comfortable with that, you could sleep good at night like that. Well, go ahead, but it is
Yeah.
gotten a bit strange to where I think a lot of students want to become teachers, and then a lot of teachers want to be strippers because they think it's like another certification, so to speak.
Mm,
And, the spaces have changed so much to where if you
yeah.
can find a space that feels right for you, again, like America's broke, like people do need two jobs, like,
Right.
but recognizing that I do think that there is mostly a coercion for money, a coercion for, I need this money today, yesterday
Right.
type thing.
Definitely.
So, it's
Yeah.
complicated, and it's a
It's
lot to
super complicated.
yeah, to discuss, but I have seen like students being like, I just want to be good, so I want to try at a strip club. And it's like, is that the
Yeah.
only
It's so
way? Why don't we do why don't we do our recital at the studio?
right.
Why don't we have our,
Right.
there's
Like
other
there's
ways.
levels to this. There's levels. Yeah, I went to Amsterdam this past year, and I went to a brothel that
Mm.
has a strip club in the basement, not the basement, like the first floor, and then the brothel was upstairs. But it was a tour. Like it was a tour at 10 a.m. where one of the dancers was there and talked through it, and because Amsterdam is legal there, and but she talked about like kind of what you talked about of like, there's this intersection of like the legal aspect and the illegal, and yes, all their money that they make is legal, but they technically, they still can't put it in a bank, that they have to sell bottles of champagne in order, to actually have the money from that night be the money. And this particular club was queer women owned, so there was all these safety guards that were in place for them, but the girl was saying how like that is not the normal case,
Right,
like this is a particular special club. But and it's just like you're right, like there's that place where people are like, oh, I want to strip, but then like there's real people who are like, this is what I have to do, these are my only options,
right.
you know
And you think
yeah,
about the job in itself, like you are essentially servicing men most of the
yeah,
time. And so I'm like, unless you are seeing it as a money grab, like I'm going to go in there and exploit the fact that these men really want me and I'm going to take them for all they got.
yeah,
If there's any part of you that is like allowing yourself to feel rated by these men, it will just break you. It will just
yeah.
break you into a million pieces because a lot of these men are not able to get ass from the outside world because they suck, and that's why you got to
Right.
come in and pay
Right.
for it. And it's like, as a species, we give ass away for free. So,
Right.
like,
To people that don't deserve it. Right.
right. So, the whole thing is just kind of like you have to really safeguard yourself so that you could
Yeah.
feel good every day because eventually it's going to weigh on you.
Yeah.
That men try to get double for half,
Right.
so over time you got to really take care.
She was saying she was 28, and she was just like, yeah, she's like, I don't give full service anymore, I only do this. She's like, because it was breaking me. And I'm like, wow,
Right.
you're like 28 and you're like having this realization that you can't. She's like, I can't do this much
Right.
longer. She's like, that's why I'm doing these tours at 10 a.m.
I'd rather do a tour at 10 a.m. than have to give full service one more time. Yeah.
Right, right. All right. So let's talk about your clothing line,
Okay.
Twisted Movement. Yes. So how did that start? And how's
Okay.
it going?
So I was going shopping in the Valley Mall, which is our little makeshift mall in El Monte. So I had bought like on discount this onesie thing that the top was sewn backwards from the bottom.
Yes.
And I was like, let me just, I don't know. It was snakeskin. It was speaking to me. I was like, I'm going to
Yeah.
figure it out. And I ended up cutting it into like this halter back,
Yes.
situation. And it was so cute. I lived in it that I ended up finding a senora that would sew me another one. And
Wow.
so now I had, two or three of my favorite little outfits. And then my
Yeah.
friend will be like, well, I want one. Let me borrow that one. And then she wouldn't give it back. And so
Right.
So I was like, okay, let me make more. Let me make more. Oh, my friend wants
Yeah.
one. My other friend wants one. So I started selling onesies. And then I was like selling
Okay.
them by the dozen. And it was going like hotcakes. It was such a cool thing. But it would take like at least 2 weeks to get these sewn. And then I would sell out in an hour. And so I'm not selling nothing for 2 weeks again. So I
Right.
had bought like some black bodysuits and I started just cutting them up to like have little things, to
Yeah.
sell in between these onesie batches. And those started to sell out. And I was like, oh my God, how cool. Like, this is so
Yeah.
cool. And then I was, doing more and more. And the first year, I wanted to say, like, I made like $30,000. I was
Yeah.
like, I'm rich. This is it. Yeah, like this is the best. And so like over the next year I had grown it a little bit more and invested a little bit more. And I had started this business with $1,500. I gave myself $1,500 and I said, if you can
Okay.
make it, then you can make it. And if you can't,
Okay.
you lost 1,500. And
Yeah.
that 1,500 made that first 30. And then that 30 turned into
Wow.
60. That 60 turned into 120. That 120 turned into almost
Yes.
200. I was like, this is crazy. And
Yeah.
especially in the 2020, I had lost like, I don't know, $50,000 worth of work. Like my year
Mm.
was cut. And thank God that all of my how do you call them, like followers and
Yeah.
customers, they were mostly at home getting those unemployment checks, shopping
Yes.
their little hearts out. Thank
Right.
you. Thank you. And so 2020 was the year that I lost all that money, but then I ended up making my best year. We made
Yeah.
almost $200,000 in freaking cat suits and leggings, like made by hand. Like it's crazy to even think that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But thank God, because had I not had that website, I don't know what I would have done. I wouldn't have gotten unemployment because,
Right.
it's a weird kind of industry like that.
Yeah.
So, I was really thankful that I had a website that people were
Yeah.
shopping and that saved me, and 2020 incited so much of like the racial awareness with,
Yeah.
BLM and George Floyd and
Mhm.
everything.
Yeah.
And that allowed me the space to try to process what the hell I already knew but couldn't articulate.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it,
Yeah.
it it bought me so much freedom and so much space to be able to, dig into my body as to like what was the thing and what was really important. And so yeah, I was just really thankful. Now, post 2020, we still had money in 2021. 2022
Yeah.
was okay. 2023,
Yeah.
I think things started to get a little bit real. Whatever stimmies we
Right.
had were spent. We didn't have no more nothing. 2024 was hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
This year, what's the saying? Jesus, take the wheel. I don't know. You know what I mean? Put it on a
Right.
credit card. Deal with it later. I don't know. Oh, so that was kind of the journey of Twisted Movement. That
Yeah.
it was actually a movement, like a movement practice, like a movement
Yeah.
intensive. So it just,
Yes.
thank God that it took off as a clothing brand and supported me during, I don't know, really hard time in to be American, or to
Right.
be, whatever we were going through as a collective was pretty
Yeah.
harsh. So I'm just really thankful that it gave me that space. But now today, honestly, like I need a job. I'm in school right now. Like I need a job.
Right. What are you in school for right now?
I'm going to school for EKG. Do you know what that is? Yeah.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
heart stuff. Okay.
Yeah, so when I studied engineering, I always wanted to do medical. Biomed was my goal, but at the time they didn't really have biomed in degrees yet. So
Yeah.
I had gotten into oil and gas, which was working for the devil. No, I didn't have any passion for that. So I told my
Yeah.
mom, she reminded me this recently, that when
Yeah.
I left engineering, I was in my 20s, and I said, when I'm old and 40, I'll get a job. And here I am,
Yeah.
old and
Okay.
almost 40. So I said, okay, it's time that I sort of re-enter. And so I'm trying to get into the medical field in a way where I can use my engineering, to
Yeah.
sort of get back to what I wanted to do, more like neuroprostheses or implants
Mm.
of some sorts, like that. Terminator, very inspired by Terminator.
Okay. That's so cool. It's so cool. Well, with all of that happening, what do you think the future of pole looks like?
Okay, I don't know, but I'm gonna say that I thought I started seeing the future of pole when the 2020 happened and a lot of pole studios had to close. And then I
Mm.
saw a lot of teachers making their own sort of brands. Teachers
Yes.
that were just working at a studio now have an
Hmm.
internet brand. And
Yeah.
I thought, wow, this is a huge evolution to give more power to the teacher directly,
Yeah.
um, and service people all over the place as opposed to just
Yeah.
local. So I kind of saw that as like a future of pole. But then I taught an online class and I was like, I hate this.
I was in your
Hate
online. I
this.
think it was like an intensive. I was in one of them. Yes. I like virtual. I like virtual,
Okay,
but I can get
learning
how some people
virtual.
don't like it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. I think learning virtual is cool, but somehow teaching was like, I want to touch you. Like, I want to be in your
Right.
space, you know?
You're like, come
Like,
see the screen.
yes, like I want to get in your space. And it was just so, it was exhausting for me. And I felt like
Yeah.
part that paid me back was, having everybody there, like the energy of
Yeah.
the room. So I started like really missing that live in
Yeah.
person aspect. But again, it is super cool to be able to service and teach people from literally anywhere and everywhere. I
Yeah.
did like that part. But I
Yeah.
did miss just like right before the COVID, we were all in Bali, and we were kind of laughing because like we were sweating and like rolling on top of each other.
Yeah.
We were sharing drinks. You know what I mean? We
Yes.
were just being absolutely disgusting in terms of like what we would come home and have to like distance and everything. So like
Yeah.
I hated the distance, but I knew we needed it, but it felt even more like I couldn't regulate. Like I was having more of a hard time regulating when it felt so just far away, you know?
Yeah. Isolating. Yeah.
So I wonder in terms of like the future of pole, what I would hope to see is sort of more talks, more education, more
Yeah.
insight, more conversation. I had taken, for example, like a voguing class, and it was two
Mm.
hours long. And the first hour was all like, Vogue, Vogue, Vogue. And then
Yeah.
the second hour was tea time. It was like almost like talking shit. It was, but it opened my mind because I don't know anything about voguing. You know what I mean? What do I know? And they were like, yeah, some people don't vogue, they vague. And I was like, think that's me. I might vague. Like
Right.
I don't think I'm really voguing. I'm vaguing, but at least now I know not to get confused that that's the real thing. And I wouldn't
Yes.
have known that without their conversation. And they
Hmm.
spoke on things that I think we talk about in the industry as well, which is like people getting the big gigs that aren't necessarily the people that represent the community or that have really
Yes.
been in the community and built community. And so like they talk about that too, where it's like, oh, this person got that commercial, that's vaguing. Now it's making our whole industry look bad.
Mm.
And, I think that comes into play sometimes with our own industry. And so, what I hope is that through education, through conversations, through understanding each other, that we wouldn't want to take one of those gigs that's really meant for somebody else for the better
Yeah.
of the community. But
Hmm.
again, people are broke. We're all
Right.
broke. So I don't know anymore. But I do think like
Yeah.
more like educational talks
Yeah.
to even just conversations, even just talking shit and having tea time, I think does enlighten you and open your
It
eyes to things
does.
you wouldn't have noticed or thought of. And that is the responsibility of the teachers because we should know.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. Well, this was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I